Hello, everybody. My name is Mitch Weisberg. I'm here with MindShifting with Mitch on LMC Media, and thank you all for joining and watching us. Today, I have a wonderful guest, Danier Wetmore, who won the Blum Award, which is awarded by the Larchmont Rotary Club. It recognizes local high school students for their initiative, leadership, and creative pursuit to make a difference in their local community and beyond. So, Daniel, welcome to MindShifting with Mitch.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
And as it says, you're a senior in high school and you go to MHS, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So tell me, I guess, or tell the audience more than me about your project, because it really was a cool and amazing project.
Yeah, sure. So I'd love to talk about it just because I feel that it's something that really benefited the community. Of course, I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I mean, I just love to talk about it. So what it was is the local middle school, Homix Middle School, that is, had reached out to my architecture teacher because they were looking to kind of redo their whole vegetable garden that the Family and Consumer Science department is using, because it just fallen into complete disrepair. I mean, the beds were rotting. There was weeds growing up all over the place. And I was also looking at the time for an Eagle Scout project. I'd previously kind of already tried with 2 other projects, and they kind of fell through. So I was sending hooks through a lot of my teachers. For example, at the time, my architecture teacher, Mr. Nobles. And so they all knew I was looking for a project. And so when the middle school reached out to Mr. Nobles, he kind of referred them to me. So I got in contact with Ms. Comerford and Ms. Hanna, 2 very lovely teachers from the Family and Consumer Science department. And I kind of worked with them to create a plan for redesigning and kind of redoing the whole vegetable garden. So that began with meetings with not only Ms. Comerford and Ms. Hanna, but I also met with the interim principal of Homix at the time, along with the head of the grounds department and a lot of other personnel from Homix Middle School, and kind of just got involved with them to set the groundwork for what we were going to do. Then we kind of hit the first roadblock, which was acquiring funding. So after a brief search for that.
Yeah, let's talk about the funding for a minute, because Homix hadn't just sat around and done nothing. They had actually reached out to see how much it would cost to redevelop the garden. Do you remember what the estimate was for redoing it?
I don't remember exactly, but I do recall being quite shocked by it. I
like
believe
$75,000.
It was $70,000 to $80,000. Yeah,
Right.
Which was quite a lot. And I remember kind of looking at the invoice to seeing what were they charging for all of that. And I noticed that, I mean, they were bringing a lot of stuff like just a dump truck and all these other sorts of things. And when I was reading the invoice, there was a lot of it where it's just like, well, if I cooperate with the different departments of the Homix, this can be done for free. I mean, it's benefiting them as well. Like, for example, with the dump truck, which is the contractors wanted to bring all the wastage and all the weeds and all that and cart it off site. I was just thinking, well, I've been meeting with the head of the Homix ground department. I can just talk to them and kind of see if they'll help bringing them off site.
Wait a minute. You mean to say you don't just carry $75,000 of cash around with you in your pocket all the time?
No, I usually don't. But, in this case, I thought it was crazy, and I realized there was a real opportunity here to not only do, I guess, good for myself and getting this Eagle Scout, but really making a change in my community, especially because with the current price that the contractors are offering, which was, like you said, $70,000 to $80,000, $75,000, there was just no way that it was actually going to get done, because the school we didn't have that kind of funding available for that kind of project at the time. So with the funding, I ended up reaching out for a lot of different places to see where I could get the money from. Ended up cooperating with the Parent-Teacher Association of Homix. And that was led by Danielle Morgan, who I had the very, very good luck of meeting with through the Scouts, because Danielle was actually the wife of Bill Morgan, who is our Scoutmaster, kind of the adult in charge of our troop. So obviously something that I really learned from this project is, if you kind of need something or need something done, make sure people know about it. Because if I hadn't told my Scoutmaster about my difficulties with the Eagle Scout project, he never would have told his wife, and his wife never would have been able to contact me with the rest of the PTA and kind of acquire that funding.
That's kind of an interesting lesson right there, because a lot of people and a lot of adults think that, gee, something. If I make my needs known to people, then I'm being aggressive, and I could never do that. And yet, you found I guess, the inner strength and the belief in what you were doing to let people know. And my guess is that when you told people, it's not that they said, "Oh my gosh, Daniel's being really aggressive and like I don't want to deal with him." I think my guess is that the reception that you got from people was, "Oh my gosh, here's somebody who knows exactly what he wants. He makes it clear what he wants, and we really respect that."
Well, I'm certainly hopeful. That's how they saw me. I mean, obviously, no one wants to be seen as kind of aggressive. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. There is a lesson to be learned there. I find even myself, I was struggling with kind of letting people know I needed help. Which part of it is that the Eagle Scout project is kind of, there's a lot of pressure on you to do it by yourself. But I kind of realized that sometimes you just, you need to reach out. I mean, for example, in the very, very first place, I never even would have heard about the project if I hadn't told my teachers, like, hey, I'm looking to do an Eagle Scout project if you hear word about it from anyone. So in the first place, I was able to hear about and kind of know about the need at Homics from my architecture teacher who knew that I was looking for Eagle Scout project. And then second off, the second most crucial part, which was the funding. And I only found out about it because I was kind of letting people know that, hey, kind of, I'm looking for funding. If you know anything, please reach out.
Just what is the garden going to be used for by the Hummocks?
So currently the garden is being used by the Family and Consumer Science Department, which I'll just shorten to FACS from now on. But they use it to kind of educate the students and kids who come through their department. Homics students rotate through a bunch of different classes throughout the year. So that means each kid will, at some point or another, be working through the FACS department to learn about whether it be planting, growing, cooking. The FACS department is a wonderful, wonderful kind of spot. At the Homics, I mean, they have ovens. They kind of teach kids how to start cooking, start like looking after themselves. I'd say my first lessons in self-sufficiency were taught there. But so now the kids are able to use the vegetable garden to kind of see the process of growing their own plants, kind of seeing where the food they eat comes from. Because I'll even say it myself, as a kid growing up in the kind of the suburbia of Larchmont, you never really think, like, where does the Brussels sprouts that come onto my table come from? You're more, at that age, kind of going, ew, Brussels sprouts. So,
Right.
right. So,
Yeah, when's dessert, right?
exactly. So, I kind of, the garden is now used by the FACS department to kind of educate kids where their food's coming from, and if any of them want to, grow their own plants. And so I went to have a look at it recently, and I could see that there were all sorts in all the different beds that were there. There were lettuce in one, there was I believe tomatoes in another. So it was just really so many different crops were being grown by them, and I feel like it was really useful. I mean, like I believe I said at the Blum Award, the part that really made me feel that it was kind of worth it to do all that was when one of the younger scouts who was is a student at Homics Middle School kind of told me at a meeting, he was like, Dan, because he helped me work on it, and he's like, Dan, every time we go into the garden to kind of, with my classmates to grow food, I tell each and every one of them I did that. I'm the one who built this so that we could kind of grow plants. So I just thought that was wonderful.
From the point that it started to the point that the garden was done, how long did that take?
So from breaking ground until actually like finishing the project, that was only, I would say, a little bit over the summer and into the beginning of the school year, but I would say anywhere from 3 to 4 months, if I had to guess. But honestly, it goes back a lot farther than that if you don't count breaking ground. I mean, the planning, getting the funding. I was starting in maybe like I was probably starting like near the beginning of my junior year, just kind of getting that all set
Wow,
up.
so this project took well over a year and a half.
Yeah, just because I'll say that there's a lot of roadblocks to be encountered, but I'd say most of the problems I did encounter were just before we even like got out there and started kind of destroying the weeds. Because I do remember with my friends, kind of before senior year started, and this was after a lot of the planning, we went out there and we just measured all the dimensions of the garden, and that was all we could do because we hadn't gotten approval to do anything else at that point. So, yeah, long time.
And then, we mentioned that the project was originally estimated at roughly $75,000. How much did it end up costing for you to do the project?
It ended up costing $1,850. Final tally.
So I'm not really good in math. Is that more or less than 75,000?
I'd say it's a little bit less.
Okay, good.
So that was a really good feeling to just be able to benefit at a relatively low cost.
Isn't that amazing how community involvement can create, incredible projects for the community and accomplish amazing things, and it doesn't have to cost that much when the entire community gets involved. And in order for that to happen, you need a leader, and you were the leader. How did you feel when it was done?
Um, Working on the project itself, I almost felt that it would never be done. I mean, obviously, it took such a long time, but when it's finally finished, I was kind of able to look at it with a little more hindsight, I guess, and going, wow, all of that was worth it, because there were times when I was doing it where I was like, there was like so many challenges or kind of roadblocks. And so when it's finally finished, I mean, the feeling of relief, like just being like, I can finally call this thing finished. And B, just kind of realizing the impact it'll have on the community that I went through. I mean, I went through Homix Middle School, all
Right.
3 years of it. So just being able to look back and going, this will actually have a real impact on students' lives.
Now, have you ever done anything close to this size?
No, this was actually my first like foray into a major community service
Wow.
project like that.
And so before this, what would you say was the biggest project that you'd worked on?
So biggest project I've worked on or biggest project I've led? Just curious.
Well, let's do both. Okay, so what's the biggest project you've worked on, and then what's the biggest project you've led?
Sure. So the biggest project I've worked on was so through the Scouts. There's a lot of Eagle Scouts always happening, and they always have their Eagle Scout projects going on. So I was very fortunate enough to work on maybe 5 Eagle Scout projects throughout my kind of Scout tenure. And so a lot of them were really kind of as big as mine. For example, the biggest one I think I recall working on was the Eagle Scout at the time, and I was a little kid, they were leveling out kind of all the invasive
Plants.
flora, invasive plants behind one of the elementary schools. I can't remember which one it is now. I think it was either MAS or Central, but I remember just going back there, which is a huge just swath of invasive plants that needed to be cleared. And I didn't participate in all the days they were out there doing it, but I just remember it was really hard work just because it's all these weeds and vines and you have to pull them out.
That is like, but when I compare it to yours, where not only did you have to get rid of the invasive plants, but then you had to rebuild the garden beds and prepare them to be planted. That's pretty amazing. And then, what's the biggest project that you led?
So actually, biggest project I've led, I have to say, I like nothing comes to mind just because I hadn't really led any like a big project at that scale before, like in any sense of the word. I mean, the biggest project I could probably just like think of would be a school one. I mean, not even something that.
Well, it sounds to me like the Scouts really prepared you for a leadership role.
Oh, absolutely. I cannot say enough good things about the Scouts of America. I mean, some of the closest friends I've met in my life have been through the Scouts, and I just think the leadership opportunities and kind of the opportunities in general that they present to people, you have to take them. There's a lot of people I've met who were in the Scouts at a younger age and kind of went out, and they often complain that it didn't really do anything for them. And I often ask them about like, well, did you like look to become kind of a leader within your troop, or did you go out in any of these Eagle Scout like projects that were happening, or did you go to the camps or the jamborees or the merit badge colleges? And almost always the answer is like, well, I only really did the ones I wanted to. And it's like, there were so many ones I didn't want to go to as a kid. Like my dad would either force me to, or I'd kind of get peer pressured by the rest of the Scouts I was with. But looking back, I mean, I don't regret going to them at all, no matter how much I might have despised going camping on a weekend where I could have been hanging out with my friends or something like that.
So there's a lesson here for parents as well that I'm hearing, is that very often, I mean, I'm a parent. I'm actually a grandparent now, but there's so many times with your kids where they're doing something which eventually is going to really pay off, and yet they're saying, oh, I don't want to go to dance tonight, or I don't want to go, I want to stop dance, or I want to stop soccer, or I want to stop this, and And if the parents can say and do the things that can motivate the kids, and if the parents can surround the kids with other kids who are interested in those activities, the payback when they become in high school and beyond is going to be immense.
Yeah, I mean, I remember all throughout my like as a little life as a little kid, there were so many things I didn't want to do, or I just like I don't want to like pursue this anymore. And my parents would always say, "No, you're gonna keep doing it. You know, you'll thank me when I'm older." And I always go like, "No, I'm not. I'm not actually not gonna thank you when I'm older." And now looking back, it's like I thank them now that I'm older. You know, there were so many activities that I kind of was forced to go at a certain point, but at a certain point, I stopped being like forced to go and started just wanting to go. And I can't thank my parents enough for kind of
Wait a
making me
minute,
push through all this.
Don't thank them too much. Don't let it go to their head. Okay, okay. You have to keep them in place. You know, I'm just kidding. Go ahead and you know and praise your parents.
Well, I just feel like when I was younger, and especially through my early teens, I mean, we always the kind of the stereotype is that they don't really want to listen to their parents. You know, they start to become rebellious. And I'd say that was me to an extent.
Well, it's all of us.
Well, it's all of us.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of feel like I can't praise them enough now, just because like they put me through so much, but looking back, all of it was good. You know, there's, and especially with the like kind of reflecting off the Scouts in general, it's like in the Cub Scouts, and even when I was a young Scout, there were so many times just like this is absolutely useless. Like, what am I doing this for? And now looking back, it's like Scouts is really like one of the greatest places I've ever found to meet people, to learn new skills, and kind of to impart those skills on new people.
So knowing that there were times when you were a young kid, but there's going to be times throughout the rest of your life also where you're going to feel like giving up. How can you use the fact that you know, as a kid, your parents helped you persevere, and through this Eagle Scout project, building the garden at Hummocks, you developed the ability to persevere yourself and to motivate other people to do the work. How can you use that in the future to motivate yourself when you feel like, oh my gosh, this is hard, maybe I should stop?
I think the biggest thing there for myself and as well for a lot of other people is kind of like self-confidence. Not to say arrogance, but I
No,
think,
I'm arrogant. You can be self-confident.
thank you. I do think that self-confidence is almost the greatest tool anyone can possess. And I think I kind of use it because I look back on my past accomplishments and I'm like, well, if I can do all of this next challenge, whatever it may be, I can do as well, you know? It's like sometimes you almost have to, like for someone who maybe doesn't have the background in like big projects or doing stuff, a lot of them by themselves, you almost have to fake it till you make it with your self-confidence. But I mean, really believe in yourself, because if you say you can't, you're never going to be able to do it.
Right.
But if you say you can, maybe you can, you know?
No, there's a phrase that a lot of people use where whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Yeah, I almost 100% agree with
Yeah.
that. And I believe in your book, MindShifting, you say like perhaps I can is kind of a statement that you use, and I really agree with that statement. I mean, if you like you said, if you say you can't, you're never going to be able to. If you say perhaps I can, maybe I can do this, then more often than not, you'll actually try to pursue and really put 100% of your effort in. And sometimes that does come back in failure, but other times it comes back with success.
Well, and thank you, and thank you for bringing up the book. What you see on the screen there is actually volume 3. The first book was Mind Shifting: Stop Your Brain from Sabotaging Your Happiness and Success. And I guess you got a chance to read some of the book. I gave it to your parents, but you know, you read the first chapter where we talk about the survival brain and how that comes to quick decisions, and your resourceful brain, which once the survival brain has decided to do something like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, your resourceful brain turns off and is only used to justify what you came up with. But that you can reset yourself and you can say, wait a minute, that's just my survival brain, and I can overcome that. And that sounds like that's basically what you did with this project, because there were an awful lot of challenges that you that would cause you to internally say, "Oh, I don't know if I can do this," and yet somehow or other you were able to turn that around and say, "Wait a minute, I don't have to listen to that voice. I can write my own story." So, can you talk about a couple of those challenges?
Yeah, so I believe I brought it up earlier, but in the very, very, very first place was finding a project in kind of for my Eagle Scout journey. And so my initial one was I turned to a local park nearby my house was getting renovated,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just or kind of getting redone, and I wanted to know if because my dad was he was friends with someone who's kind of on the planning board for redoing the whole park, and he was just curious if I could be of any help in that regard as an Eagle Scout. So I kind of offered my services, and well, we kind of had a back and forth, but it wasn't for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that process kind of repeated with a couple other projects, potential projects, and so that was the first stage of getting discouraged. Just like I've gone through a couple people now or a couple of ideas like that need my help, and none of them have kind of come to fruition. It's like at that point you kind of start thinking, is there ever going to be one that's going to help me? But like I said earlier, that's kind of when I kind of told all my teachers, I told all my friends, like, hey, I'm looking for an Eagle Scout project. If you know anyone or like any opportunity that I can possibly pursue, let me know, put me in contact, that kind of thing.
Right. That's like the perhaps I can. Like, doesn't mean that you can right now, but perhaps I can just kind of gets your brain starting to work and like, well, maybe if I told some other people about this, maybe if I expanded the net, we can find something.
Yeah, absolutely. And then expanding the net came in handy again later with the funding, where I was initially there was a kind of because obviously the school couldn't shell out 75,000 at the time. Um,
Why
so
our taxes are so high? Why can't $75,000 is a drop in the bucket?
I
Right?
think that's a question for the politicians. But
Come on, superintendent. Like, where's the money? Right?
exactly.
Where is it going? If it's not going to the garden, no. I think that was sarcasm because I know that all school systems are faced with all these budgetary crunches. So yeah, $80,000. That's a lot of money.
So I was just kind of because an initial estimate for my project was around the realm of 1,850, which was the final cost. I believe I said something like 2,000 at the time, and there was like a little bit of confusion because I was getting told that maybe the school could pay for it, maybe not, and there was kind of like in the back and forth meetings with the like school personnel. I eventually came back to like, no, we don't have the funding available right now. Sorry about that. So that was like the first discouragement. Like, where do I look for the money now?
Right.
And so I kind of started looking for any charitable organizations or kind of avenues myself as a scout could take. And there's a lot of resources available to scouts actually for their Eagle Scout projects. We're allowed to do all kind of fundraisers in the name of the project as long as 100% of the funds end up going to the project, that sort of thing. But I was lucky enough because again, expanding the net, I told so many people, because I was keeping a lot of people like a lot of updates about my project. A lot of them were very interested in it, which was really heartening to see. People are very interested in what I'm doing. And so my scoutmaster knew that I kind of was running out of steam with regards to funds. And luckily enough, his wife was on the PTA of Homics, so I was able to get in contact with them. I applied for a grant, and I was able to receive kind of the funding for the garden, which was really kind of great to aid the
Right.
project.
So did they provide all the funds for it? They provided
Yeah.
all $1,800, $2,000.
No, the PTA of Homics was able to provide all the money, which
Wow,
was
that's fantastic.
fantastic. I know.
Right. Great job. So that's the importance of having a PTA and for your project, the importance of keeping that perhaps I can thought, like what else can I try? I think you, in your speech when you accepted the Larchmont Rotary Blum Award, you mentioned also issues in getting other people involved. Because you couldn't do all of the clearing and all of the building. What were the challenges in getting other people to help out?
I'd say the number one challenge is just kind of making people know it's worth their while to come out. So just for example, for the scouts, they're able to gain volunteer hours, which they need for a lot of advancements with either ranks or merit badges. But we were kind of running into, I almost say like it's not really, it's just kind of an age problem with our troop at the time, which was that a lot of I would say almost 70% of our troop were really young kids, like kids who had just entered the scouts in general. So a lot of them kind of service hours didn't mean much to them. So, but there's obviously always a lot of them were still eager to help, so I was able to get them involved. But again, it's like a lot of people just had so much other things occupying
Right.
their time, whether it be sports practices, whether it be extracurriculars, that kind of thing. So in the beginning, the greatest kind of source of labor, I suppose I can put it that way, was just my friends who came out and did it for. They don't get service hours. They don't really get anything besides just kind of helping me out. So that was really fantastic. They were able to they were willing to sacrifice their time to come out and help me on the
And
project.
there you are again, is people respect others for asking. So you asked your friends. Now your brother was a complete slacker. He did nothing, right?
No, as much as I would like to tell that to him, no, my brother actually did help out a lot. He ended up bringing some of his friends as well, which is
And what's your brother's name?
my brother's name is Michael.
Okay.
So Michael was a fantastic help. I mean, there was one day where I couldn't get any of my friends, nor could I get into scouts, and Michael was like, "Hey, do you still need people?" And I was like, "Yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna go out there by myself." And he was like, "Well, I could probably get 2 or 3 friends to come," and he did, and they were really helpful with that.
Wow,
So
that's fantastic.
I know it's just kind of having this network around you. After this project, I've also realized that like a support network is so important if you want to get anything done in the first place.
And I'm wondering, when you look around you, uh, it always helps to have role models for leadership. So, who are a couple people and who you regard as role models, and why?
So I'd say first and foremost would be my father. He was in the scouts as well as a young kid, and kind of rose up to life. Or did scouting in Zimbabwe, so he got to the kind of their version of life, which is right before Eagle. So he never managed to get his version of Eagle, which kind of gave him a little extra drive to make sure his son got it, which I greatly appreciated. And kind of my dad's always been there for me. He always offered to help. And there were days. There was probably 1 or 2 days where the only person out there working in the garden was just myself and my father,
Wow.
because he came out there, and at the time I didn't have my license, so I couldn't bring any of the materials there. So he was always quick to kind of drive volunteers, myself, materials, whatever it may be there. And kind of outside of scouts, in general, my dad's always kind of pushed me to do more and better. And he's such a like I really take a lot of inspiration from him. Just kind of the way
Wonderful.
he leads, and even like
Hmm.
work life, that kind of thing. And then I'd say another leader I'd have to mention would be Griffin Morgan. Griffin is a grade above me. He's now at Syracuse, upstate. And he was the senior patrol leader, like the president of our scout troop before I was.
Hmm.
And he was really, I'd say, really effective in kind of gathering people's support for his project, as well as just as the SPL, which is short for senior patrol leader of our troop. He was really able to corral
Hmm.
a lot of the younger kids, and kind of everyone respected him as a leader. And when I had my SPL ship, I was just kind of trying to live up to him.
Wow.
But it's funny, the people, and I like to think I'm very good friends with him now. But I don't see him very often because he's up in Syracuse.
Right. Of
But
course.
I hope he knows that he was kind of.
Well, he'll be able to watch this.
Yeah. Well, I'll make sure to send him the link.
Okay. No, it sounds like you were able to tap into so many resources in the community. First of all, the scouts that really prepared you for leadership, and also prepared you to overcome adversity and believe in yourself. Your dad, and your mom and your brother, who helped out on the project. The PTA of the Homics, which were amazing to work with. Advisors in school. The maintenance department from Hummocks, and the fax department in Hummocks, who supported you and are using the garden, not just to train students, but they're also using it to supply food to feed Westchester for families that are that that don't have enough food. So it sounds like you and you and the community deserve a round of applause for what you've done. And what are your college plans?
So regarding university, I applied to kind of a wide swath of schools. Both my parents went through the UK system, and my dad went to South Africa for his undergrad.
Hmm.
So kind of neither of them are familiar with the U.S. process, and we have no kind of family in the United States, so there's no one to look to in that regard. So I've applied to a lot of U.S. schools, but I've also kind of extended my eyes outside of the United States. I applied to UK schools, and a couple other international ones. But with the U.S. ones, I applied to a lot of them early action and down that road. So a lot of them are returning, like I'd say in the next 2 weeks or so.
Wow. Well, good luck.
So we'll see with that. And then I also trying to go for NROTC, which is kind of the Navy
Right.
Reserve Officer Training Corps. So I really hope to kind of continue my next steps of like service, leadership, mission, that sort of thing, into the armed forces, which I feel like are a really big kind of proprietor of that sort of thing.
Well, you give us hope for the next generation.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure that there are, there's a lot of, I shouldn't call you kids because you're young adults, but so there are a lot of young adults like yourself who are making a difference. And people in our generation, we want to thank you. And on the screen, just this book, MindShifting with Mitch, Conflict and Collaboration. That book just came out a few days ago, so you can buy it on Amazon. And I'll close off. Do you have a final word that you want to say to people?
I think my final word is just believe in yourself. You know, everyone says that, but self-confidence really is key.
Okay. Well, Daniel, thank you for being a guest on MindShifting with Mitch.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody else, thank you for watching, and see you next month.